I want you to talk to me a little bit about rule emphasis for this year. Is there anything that Hockey Canada is really kind of putting their focus towards for the 2024-25 season?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of pieces that we're really focused on, and for those of you, I know some clinics have already started a member program, so some of the people listening will have already attended a clinic by the time they're listening to this. Others are still coming up, but there's really two pieces. One is on unsportsmanlike conduct and specifically Rule 11.1. We've seen by and large a really good effort from officials across the country on 11.4 discrimination and maltreatment, kind of the big stuff, quote unquote, that officials are really doing their best to enforce that as much as possible. And one of the things that we are seeing, though, is that we had, our gross misconduct penalties for stuff that really crossed the line. And then we had a lot of nothing. We didn't have what you would think of as being a commensurate number of game misconducts, 10-minute misconduct penalties, minor penalties for unsportsmanlike conduct. And one of the things that we took away from that was that officials are really they're taking care of the big stuff. They're stepping in when it is necessary on stuff like discrimination, but some of the lower level stuff, the stuff that tends to escalate, is being not let go, but is being managed by the officials in a way that may or may not be useful overall, especially when we think of from a minor hockey perspective where you don't see the same officials regularly. It's a different official picking up the whistle in every game that a team is going to play. And so having that sort of more consistent enforcement of saying, you know, players can't, if they're going for a line change during a stoppage of play, they're not going to be allowed or shouldn't be allowed to jaw and chirp all the way to the bench, because that just creates a situation where, again, especially for young players, somebody crosses a line that they shouldn't, and that maybe even they know they shouldn't, and they don't mean to, but they do, and now the harm has occurred and it has to be dealt with. And so we're really asking officials to, and part of the clinic experience this year is having those discussions with your peers about saying, how do we step this up? Where are moments where that might fall in one of those kind of gray areas where, I could give a penalty, I could also give a warning, and how do we manage those situations so that we're increasing overall our enforcement of unsportsmanlike conduct? So that's a big piece for us this year for sure.